Hey guys, Cookie here. I feel like the majority opinion on this game is that it's pretty darn great. But just because a game is wonderful doesn't mean it's perfect. And of course, when a game is this big, there's bound to be little things here and there that can use some tweaks. So we scoured the Reddit boards to see what people are asking for and picked out our favorite ideas that users have posted. So here's what Reddit thinks should be improved in Hogwarts Legacy. These first improvements come from Nick Berg TV asking for the ability to save transmog sets. A similar post from Gerald of USA asks that the appearance and gear be equipped separately, and the top comment on that post also is asking for saved presets of outfits. When I saw these posts, it did make me realize that the gear system in Hogwarts Legacy could use quite a bit of improvements, and they wouldn't even be that hard to implement. Every time you acquire a piece of gear, you have to go through a lot of steps to readjust all of your gear. You have to go into the gear menu, equip the new higher defense gear, then go back to the main gear screen and pick out your preferred appearance. Streamlining this process would be delightful for those of us that want to organize our gear as soon as we get it. Being able to save presets for gear would also be a welcome change, considering many like to have an outfit for in the castle and an outfit for out of the castle. Plus, as the game goes on, it's going to be harder and harder to keep outfits organized as you unlock more and more gear. So I definitely think this improvement to the gear system would be very welcome. In that same vein of improving the outfits comes this Reddit post that simply states that this game needs a sell all button, and I couldn't agree more. For those of us that like to go on long adventures, we may end up with a ton of outfits that need to be sold off. So when we do finally make our way back to Hogsmeade, we have a whole bunch of outfits to sell, and each one has to be individually sold by holding the button down, which gets really old really fast. A sell all button would cut down on unnecessary waiting time. It's not a big problem, but something that should be an easy fix for developers. Another unfortunate problem with the gear system comes from actually acquiring the gear, which is brought up in this Reddit post. It says that if your inventory is full and you open a gold chest, the item will be lost. The most unfortunate thing about this is that if you get too involved in the game and don't pay close attention to your inventory, you could lose out on an item you can't otherwise get. This is a big problem since I'm sure developers want players to get lost in the game, so there are lots of ways to fix this. You could simply have the player get nothing if their inventory is full, but once they delete some things, they may receive the item, or there should at least be a warning that your inventory is full before opening a chest, so you don't lose out on the item inside. I imagine this did not work out the way the developers intended, and this will hopefully be patched up very soon. Something closely related to gear and inventory is the next complaint, which comes from Dom. Cool name. They say it's a 10 out of 10 game, but the menu animations are painfully slow. There's a pretty cool, but also, like you said, painfully slow page turning animation when you go from left to right through the menu. There are ways around this problem by just going back to the main screen and then picking whatever part of the field guide that you want, but it's still not a very smooth system, because even if you do that, it's still a slow process and people end up spending more time in the menu than desired. The next suggestion is just more of a suggestion for increased immersion. It simply asks that the string ensemble be able to play more than just one song. As cool as the string ensemble is, it gets pretty old hearing the same tune ringing through Hogwarts. A variety of music, even just 2 or 3 more songs, would make a big difference and increase the immersion for the player. An added upgrade would be if you could actually make requests of the ensemble from the available music that they have. Either way, I'd love to see this cool feature of the game get an upgrade. Another immersion improvement comes from Cicada Dismal 8388. They bring up the fact that when you go into your dorm room at night, you are surrounded by empty beds. That's because there's no animation for NPCs to sleep in their dorms. This is kind of surprising considering the amount of detail that was put into this game to make it feel like a real-life school with conversations between students and NPCs going to and from class. So why would they not add this simple improvement? This would liven up the dorm rooms, which so far are pretty useless and have little to no reason to even go into them. In the same post, they also bring up that you can't even sleep in your own bed, and unless a quest calls for it, you have no reason to visit your dorm. This hurts immersion because if you really lived in Hogwarts, you would obviously end up in your dorm room every day. This mechanic is more unlikely to be added, but it is a bit disappointing that there wasn't more detail shown there considering how beautiful the common rooms are. In the comments of the post, it's also brought up how dead Hogwarts is at night, with no prefects monitoring the halls and really nothing happening at all. There's a lot that could be added there to give it some sort of of life because at night, it's like Hogwarts doesn't feel as realistic as it could. The next post agrees with the last post, but also adds a bit more. The post basically summarizes the feelings of a lot of other posts by saying that people want to be able to sit. This seems like a rather simple thing, but again, it would improve immersion because when you're running around all day fighting dark wizards and spiders, and you just want to chill out and enjoy the beauty of Hogwarts, well, you can't. You're always on your feet. Sad. This post goes on to point out that the sitting animation is already available in the game, so it shouldn't be that hard of a fix. We'll see if the developers decide to do anything with this or not. Up next, the Reddit user Failshot asks for a Unity spell bar for non-combat spells. There are a lot of spells in Hogwarts Legacy, and the system that it offers is less than ideal. It's very clunky switching between spell sets during combat. There are spells that are specifically for the Room of Requirement, and there are spells that are exclusively for beasts, so why have them grouped in with combat spells? There are also spells like Lumos and Reparo that have no use in combat. It's nice that you have so many options on how to customize your spells, but there would be no reason to group most of these spells together at all. I've been in combat many times and trying to quick switch between spell sets, and I realized that I left Reparo on and do a useless Reparo move, which obviously looks really cool in battle. I don't know how long this fix would take, but I have to agree with the community on this one because it is a big mess at the moment. The beast spells and Room of Requirement spells should be totally separate and maybe just come up on their own once you're in the area where those spells can be used. Additionally, maybe Lumos, Reparo, and spells like it could have a simple button push like Revelio has. The system they come up with does give you a lot of cool spells to play around with and use as often as you like, but the system could use some major improvements. There's just no reason to use certain spells in almost every situation. The final Reddit post simply states, "Can y'all imagine how inconvenient travel was before flu powder was invented?" This post isn't so much a suggestion as it is a meme at this point, but the post is referring to Ignatia Wildsmith and her 3 to 4 lines she says over and over and over. Every time you fast travel, you are greeted by these same couple of lines repetitively ad nauseum. Somehow it seems like the one about how inconvenient travel was before flu powder comes up the most. Some comments also suggested that the lines when you fast travel to Hogsmeade and your character either says all roads lead to Hogsmeade or it doesn't get any cozier than Hogsmeade get pretty old too. Overall, the game has limited lines of dialogue when it comes to fast traveling, and you need to fast travel almost constantly since the map is so big. The limited lines get very old very fast. However, I doubt this will get fixed or patched anytime soon, but this is probably something the developers should have seen coming. Again, it's not a big deal and it will lead to some pretty funny memes, but repetitive dialogue is never good for immersion. It wouldn't be a bad idea in the meantime to just limit the dialogue in these situations because silence would be better than hearing that over and over again. So those are the suggestions for improvements from Reddit. To be clear, we are not trying to rip on the developers. This game is awesome and they clearly love what they do and put their heart and soul into this game. It's actually because of that I believe that these improvements have a good chance of actually happening. The developers have promised to be listening to fans for ways to improve the game, and that's all we're trying to do here. Show them some ways that the game can be even better than it already is. Let us know of any ideas you agree with, or if you have any ideas of your own you'd like the developers to add. You can throw that in the comments down below. If you like this video, give us a thumbs up, subscribe, and hit the bell for notifications, and keep it on Swanee Plays Games for all your Hogwarts Legacy news and updates. We'll see you guys in the next video.